Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Gayan Piris. I work for the UN SDG Action Campaign and I'm the digital strategist and the global coordinator. Today we are going to learn about how to collect votes both online and offline. And if you have any questions, please use the comments section of the YouTube. And I'm joined here with my colleagues Sharon and Charlotte. I'm going to do a screen share of my screen, and my colleagues will tell me if they can see my screen. All right. So I'm going to. Yes. So there are three main URLs that you would like to remember, refer later. So I'm putting it on the screen. You can always go back to this YouTube video and go into these URLs. So the first method of data collection, at this point, I'm assuming all of you are aware of the My World project. Obviously, you've been selected as an advocate for it. And so what the first URL tells you how to collect your votes using the partner ID. Now, all of you have been given a partner ID, that's something that looks like ADV IDM2 or ADV IDM3 or something like that. If you haven't got your partner ID, at the end of this presentation, there is a contact link, and you should write to them and get your partner ID. And my colleagues here will help you out with registering that partner ID. So from this point onwards in my presentation, I'm assuming that you already have this partner has internet. Now, we don't want you to use the generic URL. We want you to use your very specific partner URL, which constructs like partner / your partner ID. So in your case, here it will be your partner ID. Now I'm putting in my name because I want to show you how this works. Okay, so I've entered the site with my partner ID, and this is the URL we want you to share on social media, on Twitter, on your Instagram pages. If you create a social media post, this is the URL that we want you to share, because using this ID, we can track the visitors that come into the webinar. Coming to My World. And if you go one step further, if you want to have, as you can see, My World is available in your local language. Now, let's say if you want to have the Vietnamese version of My World, then you can see it adds this additional parameter to the URL. And you can copy this. So the full URL is asean.myworld2030.org/partner. Okay, I'm getting feedback from users aware about the My World survey, and also that you have a partner ID that's given to you, something that looks like ADV-ID2 or something like that. If you don't have this partner ID, at the end of this presentation, there is a slide, and I will share this. I will share this slide, and you can write to the email address that's on the slide and get the partner ID. Once again, if you don't have the partner ID as yet, write to the email at the end of this presentation. I will also make this email available uh, in the presentation, and you write to them and get your partner ID. So there are a few URLs that you would need to keep in mind when you're doing online and offline data collection. I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully it will work this time, and you will see these URLs. So can one of my colleagues confirm whether I have...
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
And can my colleagues confirm that you see the slides now? Can those of you who are online confirm you see it? Okay, fantastic. I get a nod from my colleagues, so I'm going to go ahead. The first URL that you should be aware of is the one that is online here. Now, the general ASEAN URL is asean.myworld2030.org. But we don't want you to share this URL because we want to track visitors coming into ASEAN through your partner ID. So how do you do that? First thing is you add partner / your partner ID. Now in this, it's partner ID, but in this case, my partner ID is my name. So I'm adding partner / Guyana. Now, if you share this URL on social media, whenever you do a Facebook post or a Twitter post or an Instagram post, if people come to this URL, the votes that come through your partner ID will be tracked. And I will show you in a minute how we are tracking these partner IDs. But now what you need to remember is what you should be sharing is the URL that has your partner ID. And you can go one step further. You can have this in your local language. In this case, I'm going to select Indonesian, and you see it adds these additional parameters to the URL. So if you want users directly to go into your local language, you need to add this URL. You need to copy this URL and use that to do a Facebook post or a Twitter post or an Instagram post. And or even if you want to share it with your email network, your university, your local community, this is the URL you should be using. So as you know, the My World survey has 3 questions. 4 questions, in fact, in this case. One is, well, I don't speak Indonesian, but I'm assuming this first question is, are you aware about the ASEAN Vision 2025? Based on yes or no. If they say no, there is a small description. And then it pops up the second question, which is, are you aware about the Sustainable Development Goals? And if people say no, there is again a description on that. And once you've done that, we ask people to select 6 out of 17 goals that matters to them the most. Now it's important to remember we are asking for 6 out of 17. So and this order is randomized. So every time you load the page, we have the goals randomized. So if I reload this, you will get this in a different order because we don't want people to simply select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We want it to randomize and people to select different things that matters to them the most. So the moment I select 6, it takes me into this additional question. During the past year, how do you think the situation has changed on your selected goals? An interesting thing to remember here is you have 5 options actually. Now, each of these are options as well. So you can say it really got worse, it stayed the same, or it got better. But there are these indicators in between as well. So I can select one of these. And you do the same for all of for the goals you have selected. So I'm going to simply randomly do things. And then it is asking for few demographic information. It's important to remember the survey is completely anonymous. We don't collect any personal information, but we want to collect these demographic information because this comes very useful when we do the analysis. So we are asking your gender, we are asking for your age, we are asking for your education background, we are asking for your country, and we are asking for your city. So in this case, if I select, let's say, Indonesia, I can select a city in Indonesia as well. So when you type in the letter, it should pop up the city automatically. Once again, if you are having trouble seeing this or having trouble listening to this, please let us know on the chat channel, on the chat section of YouTube. Again, my colleagues Sharoon and Ann Charlotte monitoring the chat channel, and they will let me know if you're having trouble. So last but not least, we are asking for the disability status. If you select yes, there is an additional field on type of disability. So you select the type of disability and you submit. Now, the moment you submit, this vote, well, some basic checking as well. So I would do that. The moment you submit, it is taking you to a thank you page with your partner ID. Now we can track the votes that you have brought into the system. And how do we track that? That brings me to the next URL here. Well, the third one, in fact, the last one, asean-data.myworld2030.org. And when you type this URL, it will redirect you to a Google Data Studio URL, but don't worry about that. What you need to remember is ASEAN-data.myworld2030.org. ASEAN-data.myworld2030.org. And here you can see, you can filter by all these partner IDs that we have created. Right? So we can see which partner ID brought in the most number of votes, and you can filter by it. So it goes into to filter, and you can see from which area those votes came from, and you can drill down further into cities as well. You can see when those votes came in, and there is another page right here on the top left-hand corner where you can go into more details about the data you brought in. Again, I can filter by partner ID, but I'm not doing it right now. But you can see the priorities of people from the data that we have here. And you can, because we collected all those demographic information, it is possible to create different filters using those demographic information. Like, I want to know the votes that came in for age groups 16 to 30 from the city of, let's say, Jakarta only. And here's what youth from Jakarta, why I say youth, because it's the age group 16 to 30. This is the priority of youth in Jakarta. They say quality education is their priority. So here's how partner ID at the same time track goals using your partner ID. Now also, what's important to remember here is there is a user ID as well, which we don't use. I will, if anyone wants more information on how to use it, you can reach out to me. I will provide my information at the end of this session. There is a way to use that as well, but right now what you need to remember is how to use this partner ID. So that is how you collect votes online. Now, we are providing you the opportunity to collect votes offline as well. Why is it important to collect votes offline? in certain cases, we want to reach out to communities that are marginalized, that doesn't have access to internet. So there are a couple of methods that you can use for this. We are coming up with an offline app which will be available soon, and I will have another webinar when we have the app available. So you can install it on your phone, on your smartphone, go to a community. Even if there's no internet, still you will be able to collect information, collect data, and once you come back to your institution, to your home, whenever you have internet, this app will automatically sync. You don't have to do anything, it will automatically sync. Now, until this app comes out, when this app comes out, we are going to have another webinar. We will reach out to you again. I will do a full training on this app. But right now, we don't have that app. It will be available hopefully next week or the week after. But right now, there is another method to collect votes offline. That is using paper ballots, what we call paper ballots. Again, I'm going back to my presentation. The URL to remember here is about.myworld2030.org/ASEAN resources. Once again, this URL will be available in the communication material we will send you. But I'm going to go here right now so I can show you what's available here. I will stop right now really quickly to check if people online can hear me and see my presentation. Sharon and Charlotte, seems like are there any?
So far, it's all going very good.
Okay, fantastic. So to continue, now I said if you want to register as a partner, there is a whole form that you have to fill. But at the same time, since we are registering with the ASEAN Advocates Program, I think the better thing to do here is to write directly to the email address that's available in my last slide here. In the UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub, there is a focal point assigned to you, and you can write to her and get this partner ID. I will put this slide up in a few minutes. So until then, I'm going to go back to my resources section. So if you want to collect votes on paper, you need to click here, and it takes you to a Google Drive folder where you have the paper ballot in all of your ASEAN languages. I'll open one just to show you, and this is how it would look like. You can print this and take this to the field. I will, for the moment, because I don't speak Thai or Burmese, I'm going to open the English version so I can walk you through it. Now, the first section here, obviously, is the date. So you have the ability to enter the date. Then your partner ID. Now, this is very important. How we identify the votes is through your partner ID. So enter your partner ID properly. Then the voter information, whether they are male, female, or other, their age. Again, this is a number. So it could be like 15 or 18. It is a number, not the date of birth. I'm repeating that. We are not collecting the date of birth. We are collecting the age. So it is a number here. Then the country and the state or the region and city, town, or village that you're going to collect information. Email and mobile number is just there if people want to stay engaged. But this is not mandatory, and this is something that goes against what I said earlier, saying that the vote is completely anonymous. Because we make the data available public, even if you fill this information, we are not going to get this data into our master system because the data is available public. This information go into a different database where we keep people engaged in the SDG community. So these two, email and mobile number, are not mandatory. Next is education. Similar to the online version, you can tick the education level of the person you're interviewing or doing the vote. Then do you have a disability? If disability is yes, then the type of disability. here. Then you would select, once again, you will see here the goals are randomized. They are not in 1 to 17 order. They are randomized. Then you would check the box that is relevant. In most cases, you will be simply imagine if you're in a university and you will be distributing these vote papers. So once you distribute, you need to do what I'm doing right now, basically tell them how to fill this. Or if you are interviewing people, you would be filling this on behalf of them. So the first question is, are you aware about the goals? In your ASEAN version, there's this additional question: are you aware about the ASEAN 2025 vision? And then the question about the sustainable development goals. Then the third question about picking 6. So remember, there should be 6. If you by mistake or if someone by mistake added more than 6, we take the system randomly takes the 6 that have been marked. And if it is lower than 6, the system might still accept, but we cannot guarantee that. Then what you need to do is, in front of each goal they have selected, you need to mark whether the situation got worse, somewhere in the middle, stayed the same, somewhere in the middle, or got better. So ideally, if there's a check mark on gender equality goal right here, it should be accompanied by a mark right here to say whether the goal has got worse or got better. Right? And when you ask people to fill this, not you're trained in this, but when you simply distribute this and ask people to fill it, sometimes we get anomalies, like people select goal number 13, which is the climate goal, but they accidentally check this one. So it is important to sometimes check and go back to these users as well. So once you imagine you've collected 20 of these, you simply distributed this in your university, and now you have 20 papers of offline votes or more. Now is the real fun. You come home, you get yourself a good cup of tea or coffee, and you download this. I'm going back to the ASEAN resources page. There is a template to submit your paper votes. So you download this template. When you click here, it will download. I've already downloaded this for you. So I'm going to open this. It will be a sheet like this, which opens up in Microsoft Excel. So I'll go right to the start. You don't need to fill, once again, I'm repeating, you don't need to fill start time and the end time. This is recorded in the online version, but you don't have this information in the offline version. But you need to enter the submission date. Then the method is always offline because you've collected this information offline. Q1, you already know what question 1 is. Question 1 is about, are you aware about the ASEAN Vision 2025? So depending on yes or no, you would fill yes or no here. Then the question 2 is about, are you aware about the Sustainable Development Goals? So depending on yes or no, you would put it here. Now is the complicated part, but it's not really complicated if you think through it properly. So now in your offline sheet, people may have selected this goal. Now if they selected this goal, it's a 1. If they haven't selected this goal, it's a 0. So it's very simple. If the goal is selected, it's a 1. If it hasn't, it's a 0. So I'm going to randomly quickly fill this. I have to ensure I've only put 1 for 6 of the goals. But that is how ideally it should be. While I do this, I want to remind you again that you can, if you're having trouble or if you're having trouble following this, please send in your chat through the YouTube chat channel. My colleagues will tell me if there's a question. Okay, now I have entered the 17 goals. Now is the 4th question about rating. Now this is interesting as well. Now, if I have put 1 in goal number 3, for example, because that is something the user has selected, I need to go into goal number 3, Q3, goal number 3, it's this one. Then you will see this additional field called data types here, additional sheet called data types. I'm pointing to the bottom of the sheet, data types. And here is an explanation of data. And if I go to Q4, the ratings are 1 to 5. 1 got worse to 5 being got better. So if it is between 1 and 3, if it is between got worse and stayed the same, it's 2. If it is between stayed the same and got better, it's 4. So the ratings are from 1 to 5. It's important to remember this. When people mark in the offline template, I may go back to the offline template. See, there are 5 boxes here. So each box corresponds to the related number. So in my case, I'm going to go back to votes and I'm going to put, let's say, 4 here. Because now, if it is 4, can anyone online tell me what does that mean? That means the user selected goal number 3 as a priority, as important to them. They've rated it in between, stayed the same, and got better. That means it's number 4. So, which means they've selected goal number 3 and they've selected that box, right? So you would fill the information for the 6 goals that were selected. So this is why you would see some fields are left blank, some fields have a number because those numbers correspond to the goals that the user has selected. Okay, so I'm going to go here. The next section is the demographic section. Now, this is really simple. It's either male, female, or other. And the age, once again, I said age. We are not collecting the date of birth. We are collecting the age. So most probably it will be a number. And then the education level. Again, I go to data types. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to education level. It has 4 values. What are the 4 values? Some primary, finish secondary, and beyond secondary. So in the case of the offline template, it will be somewhere here. Let's imagine they select this. And I would mark it as finished primary. So I would go back and say this is number 2. And the country is straightforward. In my case, it's Indonesia. And the city is Jakarta. And disability status, yes or no. Disability status is a simple yes or no. But if the disability status is yes, then we would expect you to fill the other field as well. So if it is yes, we want to know, again, I would go to data types and I would say disability type, again, 1 to 5, values 1 to 5. So let's say, imagine in this case, it's the vision. So I will go and say it's number 2 here. Then here, again, is the most important thing to enter your partner ID. So your partner ID would look like something like that. And it's important to enter your partner ID correctly, because also all the information correctly, because once we enter the data in the database, it's big data. You're entering into a database of millions of records. It's extremely difficult to go back and edit this information. So it's important to get this right the first time. So double check, triple check your sheet before sending it to us. Now, once that is done, you've completed this sheet, you've completed 20 entries where I told you earlier, like now you in a hypothetical situation, you've ended up with 20 offline sheets. You come back home and you enter it in this Excel sheet, and you save the Excel sheet You have to send it, email the Excel sheet to support@sdgactioncampaign.org. Once again, here is the email address, support@sdgactioncampaign.org. You can also copy your focal points in the Bangkok Regional Center, but you have to send it to this email. And what this email does is it will create a ticket in our help desk, and Sharon will coordinate with Anne Charlotte. Both of them are sitting right next to me. I will give an opportunity to say hi to you actually before we end the presentation. They will track your offline entry and put it in and work with me on getting it in the database. So once you get it in the database, technically, it should appear here. Now, this page refreshes every morning. It's not real time. So if you send us the sheet and we say, thank you, we've uploaded the votes, don't expect it to appear here immediately. Check it next morning because of the large volumes of data, we only refresh it in the mornings. So it's important to remember that for both online and offline, we only refresh it in the morning. So I talked about, well, that's about it on the offline process. If you have any questions, use the chat channel and my colleagues will tell me if there's a question on the offline process. Now I talked about creating social media posts using your partner ID, using the URL. Here are a lot of design resources to, well, this has the logos, the banners that we've created, the videos. So this Trello board has a lot of information. Social media package with sample messages. Let's check that out. Check the PDF. So here are some of the hashtags that you can use and infographics that you can use. Use your URL. See, here it says suggested social media messages. Now, this can be an easy social media message, but remember, instead of this URL, instead of this ASEAN myworld2030.url, you need to use your partner ID. If you use the common URL, there's absolutely no way for us to track whether you have brought in that data. So if you share the common URL, you may have brought in thousands of votes, but there's no way for us to track. So once again, it's extremely important whenever you use the URL, whether it be a social media post, whether it be an email, or whether it be simply passing the URL in your networks, you need to use your ID. Otherwise, there's no way for us to track the votes that you have brought in. So there are a lot of resources available here. Before you do anything, spend some time on the resources. My colleague Tina is going to do a presentation next week on how to be active on social media, how to create a blog, how to create a social media post, how to create a mini video. So she's going to probably come to this site as well, but she's going to give you really good tips on how to be active on social media. And one thing to remember is to use your ID. Always use your ID. I keep on repeating this because we had incidents in the past where people have told us, well, I did this amazing little video and I'm sure I have brought in a lot of votes. Yes, I'm sure they did, but there's no way for us to know whether that came through that post because they haven't used their partner ID. So once again, it's extremely important to use the partner ID. Then there's links to the webinars, and in fact, the link for this will be available as well. If you have the email addresses of the other advocates, please feel free to share the link of this video because we had to change the link because of the technical problems we were having. And if you want to support a translation, you can do so as well. The translation is just once again an Excel file where you need to put your term in your language in front of the original term. It's easy. If you want, click there and you can easily figure this out by yourself. But there's a bunch of material available on this website, and please feel free to go there, download or watch the webinar and come up with a plan, come up with an advocacy plan, come up with an engagement plan. Uh, in certain cases, if you're in your country or in your community, people use mobile phones, maybe online is the way to go. But if the mobile penetration is not good in the area you live in, or you want to reach out to we had incidents where people wanted to go into a refugee camp and do the My World survey there. So in those cases where internet connection is not available readily, use the offline method, and the offline app will come very soon. But in the meantime, use the offline template. And our experience tells us that the offline, most of the votes that were brought in for the My World survey came through the offline method, because it's very easy to disseminate. You print a bunch of offline ballots, you go to your university, you simply disseminate them, and that end of the day you get plenty of offline votes, and you open that Excel sheet and you enter them in the Excel sheet. Well, that's about it from me on getting online and offline votes and how to use My World. If you have any questions, I'm going to bring up the last slide now. Once again, my name is Gayan Piris, and I'm available on Twitter at Gayan Piris. You can write to me directly on Twitter, and I want you to contact your regional focal point if you have any questions. If you don't have your partner ID, contact your regional focal point. If you have problems with an Excel sheet that you've just filled in and you cannot send it, please contact your regional focal point. Also, when you send us these Excel sheets to support@sdgactioncampaign.org, please ensure you copy your regional focal point so they know that you sent the offline sheets. So I'm going to stop right there and ask you to send your questions through the YouTube channel, and let's see if people have any questions. Yes, there is a question asking me whether I can send all the materials that I mentioned in the presentation. Yes. So all the materials I mentioned are available in this URL. I'm going to highlight it in another color. So you have it. All the materials I mentioned are available on this URL, and we will send you a link to this YouTube video. Link to this, there's not much of a presentation because everything I did was online, but I will send you links. So the most important page here is this one. So these boxes gives you access to all of the material I was talking about. If you don't have the partner ID, she is the person that you have to write to, and she will make sure you have a partner ID, and my colleague here, and Charlotte, will help her to create a partner ID, and you would have this partner ID. Any other questions? There's another great question online. Is there any age limitation to fill out the survey? Well, no. The easy answer is no, because we want to ask how the sustainable development goals matter to them. So it's important people are aware. It's important even kids are aware about it. So there's no age limitation of getting the votes. But if you're interviewing kids smaller than age of 16, I would highly recommend to get their parents' consent before doing it. Okay, so there is another question. Someone is asking, they do not understand the concept of partner ID. So I'm going to do it really quickly again. So you will be given a partner ID. If you don't have this partner ID, please write to this email. That's the email. I'm going to make it bold and very big so you see it. That's the email, and that's the person's name. If you don't have this partner ID yet. So you're going to get a unique ID, something that looks like this, like ADV-IDN5, something that looks like this. We've created partner IDs in the system for all of you, and Charlotte kindly created it. So if you don't have it yet, please contact this email once again, and you will be able to obtain your partner ID. I'm going to move the mouse away so you see the email address once again. And we haven't got it yet. So how do you use the partner ID? Once you get it, when you create the online version here, remember it's ASEAN.myworld2030, your URL, /partner, then your partner ID. So in your case, it will be something like ADV-ID-2 or something like this, right? So when you add this partner ID to the URL, the system knows it's coming from you, and it's easy to track. Any other questions? I will wait a few minutes to see if there are any other questions. Please use the chat channel. Once again, feel free to ask questions in your local language. If English is, if you want to do it in your local language, not just in English, we will use Google Translate to translate them and answer your question. The main thing to remember is we are here to support you throughout this program, and we are super excited to have you in this program. So feel free to ask questions. You will need help from us, so we are here to help you. So feel free to ask questions, feel free to get in touch, and let's do this program together. Okay, so someone is asking, could you repeat the consent for children? So what I said was, if you're interviewing, if you're getting votes from children under the age of 16, it's always better to get consent of their parents, because you will be interviewing kids, and we don't want you to get in a difficult situation because you didn't get permission of their parents. So if you are interviewing people, also what you will do during this program is you will hear more about this from my colleague Tina, to do short videos, to take pictures of people, and there is a consent form. There's a consent form template which Tina will talk about in her presentation a week from now. So make sure you get this consent form signed from the people if you are taking pictures, then you have to get this consent form signed. But if you are interviewing people under the age of 16, or if you are getting votes from people under the age of 16, it's good to talk to their parents and get consent before you interview children. Exactly, that's a very good question. How about from their teachers? If you do it in a school, yes, please. Please ensure you get permission from the relevant authority. In this case, it's a teacher, could be from principal, could be from the dean of the university. If you're doing it if it is in the university, obviously they are above the age of 16. But if you're doing it for children under the age of 16, it's good to get consent. Yeah. Any more questions? So we are looking at the chat channel and I don't see any questions. I will stay online for another a minute to see if there are any more questions. So someone is asking a question whether we want to limit the gender. No, in fact, I'm going to show you, if you can see my screen, I'm going to show you how we ask about gender. I'm going to quickly fill this up so I can bring up the screen where we ask about gender. So here's gender. So if you don't understand the language, it's not in English. So even I don't understand what this says, but what it should say is male, female, and other. So yes, we represent all genders. So it's male, female, and other. There's a very good question. If you about the offline survey reports, if I make 4 different offline surveys in 4 different locations or 4 different times, should I do it in one report? Should I put it in one Excel sheet? Yes. So don't send us your Excel sheets until you have considerable amounts, a number of votes. Like there's no point sending me us Excel sheets every day. So wait till the end of the week or something until you collect substantial amount of votes. Put them in one Excel sheet and send it. It's okay to repeat this process every week or so, but not every day. All right. Any other questions? I'll wait another 30 seconds to see if there are any other questions, and then we will close this session. Oops, sorry about that. Thank you, everyone, for connecting for this webinar, and we will be in touch. Hopefully, make sure you connect to my colleague Tina's session next week. And before we go, I will very quickly try to say hi to everyone again, because we couldn't do so in the previous webinar. We had technical problems. So this is me, Gayan, and I'm going to call my colleagues Sharon and Charlotte, who are silently helping me to say hi to you. You'll be working with these two a lot. So this is the team. We'll be working with you. And we are very excited to work with you. You'll be hearing from us a lot. We will be hearing from you a lot. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Bye-bye. Have a good night in Asia.